What, did you see it last night? It was a rare occurrence in the cosmos early in the morning. It had early risers seeing red.
Breaking this afternoon, Ebola kills inside the United States. The first person ever diagnosed with the virus in this country has died.
Early risers throughout North America were treated to a rare so-called blood moon this morning, at least those lucky enough to have a cloudless sky. The blood moon named for the color it takes on as it passes through Earth's shadow.
But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if ye shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that ye will not do all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes, and cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power. And I will make your heaven as iron, and your earth as brass. Your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield her increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruits. And if ye walk contrary unto me, and will not hearken unto me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you, according to your sins. I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children, and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number. And your highways shall be desolate. And if ye will not be reformed by me by these things, but will walk contrary unto me, then will I also walk contrary unto you, and will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send a pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy.
To our breaking news out of Dallas moments ago, we got word that Thomas Eric Duncan, the first Ebola patient diagnosed here in the U.S., has died from the disease.
Late development to report. A man was brought here to the hospital today. He's a member of the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. He was in that apartment where Thomas Eric Duncan was staying. The officer was there to serve that quarantine order on Duncan's family, a family now suddenly prepared to say their final goodbyes to their lost loved one. Thomas Eric Duncan died shortly before 8 local time this morning, 8 days after being diagnosed with Ebola.
Today we are deeply saddened by the death of the patient in Dallas. Despite maximal interventions, we learned today that he passed away.
Did a 2-day delay in care contribute to his death? NBC's Tracy Potts has more on that from Washington, plus concerns about another possible case in Texas, someone who wasn't on the CDC's radar.
This morning, health officials are evaluating a possible second Ebola case. The Dallas deputy who served a quarantine order to Thomas Duncan's family developed fatigue and stomach pains.
The risk is minimal, but again, we are taking all precautions.
Duncan's body is being wrapped in 3 layers of plastic. He'll be cremated or sealed in a casket to prevent the spread of Ebola. The CDC's watching 48 people who came in contact with him.
Now comes the delicate and critical process of handling Duncan's body, which is dangerously contagious. Wearing protective gear, workers must wrap the body in 3 layers of plastic for either immediate cremation or to be placed in a specially sealed casket. Tonight, NBC Dallas affiliate KXAS reported that Senior Sergeant Michael Monning, who served Duncan's family that quarantine order, was admitted to the hospital here for observation after saying he felt ill.
And we have a couple of cases where patients aren't sure how they got the virus. And so that suggests to people it may be easier to pick it up than we currently understand.
And what about the sheriff's deputy who was brought to the hospital? He had no direct contact.
Ebola has not been confirmed. Nevertheless, a community remains on edge as they count down the 21 days of the incubation period.
I'm pins and needles every day in Dallas this week, and yes, throughout the whole 21 days.
In Nebraska, the NBC freelancer who developed Ebola got an experimental drug and a blood transfusion from the first American to recover.
Now in Nebraska today, the freelance cameraman working for NBC News in Liberia got a blood transfusion today with blood donated by Dr. Kent Brantley, one of the American survivors of Ebola. Dr. Brantley said he made an offer here to this hospital for Thomas Duncan, did not hear back. We asked the hospital for comment tonight, Brian. We have not heard back.
Now, I don't think we're being told the whole truth about this, doctor, and I'll point to the NBC freelance cameraman currently being treated in Nebraska, who was in Liberia and has Ebola, and they flew him back here for treatment. They're telling us now that Mr. Mukpo, who you're seeing here, contracted the disease by washing a car. Number one, where a guy with Ebola died in a car. Number one, a freelance cameraman doesn't wash cars. If Mr. Mukpo is dumb enough, and I say that with all due respect because he knew what he was covering, to reach into a car where a guy with Ebola died and there's some fluid, he put his hand in it, he's going to get the disease. But I don't think that's what happened. But shouldn't we know? He's been now in the country for a week. Shouldn't we know how Mr. Mukpo contracted this disease? The people of America should know that, should they not?
I agree that they should.
And we don't know because the Centers for Disease Control are too busy PRing this and not telling us the truth. Now let's go to Madrid, Spain. It's a nurse who has treated a missionary priest who came back from Liberia and died in Madrid. All right? The hospital says she only entered the room twice in protective gear head to toe. She has Ebola. And she went on vacation with her husband and was in contact with hundreds of people. How can you get Ebola when you're head to toe with all this stuff?
Extra screening for Ebola begins at New York's JFK Airport Saturday, including temperature checks. The CDC warns everyone with a fever will not have Ebola.
It would not be surprising if we saw individuals with malaria have a fever after coming back here.
100 Marines are the latest of 4,000 troops headed to West Africa. Some of those troops will handle blood possibly tainted with the deadly virus. But President Obama says
we're not going to compromise the health and safety of our armed services.
And there's also concern about the safety of the flying public. That's why that extra screening, the temperature checks, it's expanding to Newark, Chicago's O'Hare, Washington Dulles, and Atlanta airports.
I know your expertise is in medicine. My expertise is in information. There's something wrong. We're not being told what's going on here.